The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little. But someday, the piecing together of disassociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the deadly light to the peace and safety of a new dark age. H.P. Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu, The Horror in Clay.
What is the weird? When we say something is weird, what kind of feeling are we pointing to? I want to argue that the weird is a particular kind of perturbation. It involves a sensation of wrongness. A weird entity or object is so strange that it makes us feel that it should not exist, or at least it should not exist here. Yet, if the entity or object is here, then the categories which we have up until now used to make sense of the world cannot be valid. The weird thing is not wrong, after all. It's our conception that must be inadequate. Mark Fisher, The Weird and the Eerie, and welcome everyone to the final episode of the Fruitless Horror Month.
Welcome everyone.
Oh man, that's right, everybody. We're here at last. Jackal's here. Hello, Jackal.
Hello, Josiah. I'm so happy to be here.
This is going to be a fun one. And yes, I'm Josiah, as you all know. And if you've been listening to the free episodes this month, you know it's horror month, and we're wrapping it up with H.P. Lovecraft. One of the most influential horror writers of all time, which we thought would be just kind of fun to kind of riff on, read a few of his stories, talk about his influence, and just see what weird shit we can pull out of it. I also like that I did include a quote from a book that makes the argument that Lovecraft isn't horror, which kind of invalidates us doing this, but whatever, it's all good. We're using the broad sense of horror rather than the hyper-specific Mark Fisher in literary analysis mode definition.
Yes. I mean, Lovecraft probably would, depending on the period of his life and the story that you're talking about, would both either agree with him or disagree with him.
So for this episode, we read, what are the Lovecraft stories we read? We read The Shadow over Innsmouth and At the Mountains of Madness.
Yes.
Two classic ones in the Cthulhu mythos. But we didn't want to do Cthulhu. You know what I mean? Because no. Everyone knows Cthulhu. If you've read a Lovecraft story, that's probably the one you've read.
Yeah, Cthulhu is, we call it the Cthulhu mythos, even though technically
he's just one.
He's one guy. He only appears in one story. But that the imagery is so evocative that became the symbolic fetish in the way of like a cultural fetish. Of the mythos is he's the mascot of it, even though technically that's not the term that Lovecraft preferred. He preferred something called Yog-Sothothery.
Yeah, that's like the name of the religion, right? Broadly or whatever, the cosmology.
That was his broad term for all of his connected stories were for he would just refer to that's the Yog-Sothothery.
Oh, okay. Like it's a holy text. Like Necronomicon, another thing that he invented.
Yes. You're going to find out a whole bunch of horror conventions have their roots in Lovecraft. We'll probably talk about that broadly, not too super specifically, because the Necronomicon doesn't come up directly in these stories. In Innsmouth, the author of the Necronomicon gets a mention in the library at Miskatonic University, but not specifically that book, I don't think. unless my memory is not. I didn't make a note of that. So
it's like in passing. It's not. It stuck out to me when I ran into it because I was like, oh yeah, there's that. But it's not the focus on that one. Yeah. So we read those, and then on top of that, we kind of branched out to just want to talk about Lovecraft's influence broadly as well. So I read The Ballad of Black Tom for this by Victor Lavallee. Now, I'm basing that pronunciation of his last name off of a howtopronounce.com pronunciation that has 1 star. So that probably isn't right, but it's a good book.
And I reread Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff.
So, yes, we are going to be getting into Lovecraft and race, Lovecraft and the unknown and the weird, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, maybe we start off with the short stories here. Let's just get the race stuff like right out of the way. Let's talk about Shadow over Innsmouth because that's the race one.
Yeah, this is one I specifically suggested to you because it's so racist.
It's so racist. I thought Cthulhu was racist, which it is, but this one's much worse.
It's more racist.
This one, like, kind of borderline, like, justifies concentration camps.
Yes, it does, and kind of genocide or ethnic cleansing, at least, because at the beginning of we're going to spoil both of these stories, by the way. So if you have not,
they're also classics,
Yes. So if you haven't read it, regardless of us spoiling it, you should go read it. We're going to talk we're going to be very critical of Lovecraft, but I think both of us
like Lovecraft.
I have a thesis thing I'd like to say, about being a black fan of Lovecraft. That was part of me rereading Lovecraft Country there's some stuff that comes up about that in that book. But despite this, I think there is still, despite Lovecraft's insane racism, a racism that was so overt that even his contemporaries at the time that he was writing, which I must remind you, at the time of publication, Shadow over Innsmouth was published in 1931. At that time, Lovecraft was viewed by his friends as super racist. Yeah. He was so racist other racists thought that
for the time was racist.
Yes.
Not just, we're projecting, contemporary mores onto this past person. Unfair. No. Like, everyone was like, God damn, this Lovecraft guy is racist.
Man, he can't stop talking about it. Oh my God. But despite that, I still think that there is a lot of value to his work, and he clearly was a very good writer and is influential in a genre that means a lot to me and to a lot of other black people and a lot of other people of color. So despite that, I still think that there's a lot of value from it. So you should still read it, even with us spoiling it. But spoilers, the beginning of Shadow over Innsmouth starts with the federal government ethnically cleansing the town of Innsmouth.
Yeah, and in some sense, the story is organized where it's kind of being like, I know, shocking, right? But after I tell you this story, you'll agree. And like, you do, but it's because, it's like a fucking alien breeding deal.
Yeah, it's because they're having sex with fish people.
Yeah.
Like, and making fish people human hybrids. So, I guess if you're in that specific circumstance,
in this specific circumstance, I don't like anything it's allegorical for, but I'll also say a quick thing for people who want to get into more Lovecraft is there's a lot of audiobook and stuff like that out there. And there's one that if you're someone who uses Audible, this is like a cheat code to me, is there is an audiobook that is the complete fiction of Lovecraft, and it counts as one book. So you can use 1 credit for 50 hours of Lovecraft. So just a shout, and they're well performed. They're done. So
that's
how I listened to both of these.
To his work being so old and in the public domain, and him mostly being a short story author, that you get a lot, and writing a lot that for very little you get a lot. I read a bunch of this stuff from a a book that I got when I was a preteen at Barnes & Noble's called H.P. Lovecraft, Great Tales of Horror, which is a brick of a book. And we got it for like $12.
I've got a complete Lovecraft book sitting around somewhere. I'm definitely like a latecomer to Lovecraft. This was a preview for a Patreon-only episode. So check out the show notes if you want to hear more.